which was made by a very old man in the locality from which this biddy came. The traditional headdress is beautifully ornamented also with multicolored artificial flowers and feathers. And next again, the biddy on this side is also very beautifully attired and carries the traditional straw St. Bridget's cross. This biddy, I notice, has natural hair, and this hair, we understand from the individual concerned, was cut from his great-grandmother's hair about a century and a half ago. We have another very spectacularly robed biddy, this time again with veil and carrying the traditional St. Bridget's cross of rushes. Now this biddy's gown, by the way, was worn by that biddy's great-grandmother when she was brought to the church to be baptized about the early years of the last century. And the tradition has been handed down to use this christening gown for the annual biddy event.
Okay, so that was the winner anyway of the competition. So let me. Okay, so anyway, that was a sample of what it used to be like. And that tradition is still alive where those scenes were filmed in Kerry. Okay, so the next thing now that I want to look at is the tradition of putting the brat brida outside on Bridget's Eve. So people would put this piece of cloth, usually red, and they would put that outside. Now the reason was that they believed that Bridget was lucky and would bring people good fortune, and that she was able to heal people. She had great healing powers. So people would leave this piece of clothing outside the house on Bridget's Eve, and it was believed that Saint Bridget would come around and she would lay her hand on the cloth, and then the cloth would henceforth be a cure for pains and a protection from danger and evil. So that was called the brat brida. Brat is the Irish word for cloak. Okay, here's a child's account collected by the Folklore Commission in Ireland in the 1930s. You can find the whole passage here. But it tells us about, this is a transcription of the text, but it tells us about some of the traditions that they had. So it says, Sheila Eila Brida and Kayla Dun Arach. So Bridget's Day, the first day of spring, everything begins to grow, the weather begins to improve, young and old are happy, and there are many customs associated with Bridget's Day. One of them, the night before the day of Féile Brida, Brida blanket, right, or brat Brida, is put out and left outside during the night. It is taken in the morning, and if anyone in that area has a headache during the year, the blanket is wrapped around their head, okay, and it is said that there is a cure from the blanket itself. So you can read the other about the other custom as well that was there. So they also in the video mentioned the Bridget crosses. So these are made from rushes. Rush is a type of grass that grows near rivers and in swampy areas. Or they would use some other natural material that was available in the locality. And then people would hang these crosses in the house. Now usually above the door, right? I've got one in my house just above the front door. And that's an important place. And it's especially associated with keeping away not just evil spirits and the evil eye, but also keeping fire away and keeping hunger away as well. You can see that there are different types of Bridget's crosses as well. This is an alternative one. We're used to this kind of type today. This particular cross as well, you know, you look at it and you might think that it's a representation of the cross of Christianity. But actually the cross and making the cross in honor of St. Bridget predates Christianity. It goes way back, probably you know, into the hundreds of years before the first century of the Common Era. And what it used to represent is the four cardinal directions of the universe. Okay, so it kind of represented everything, really, you know, up, down, left and right sort of thing. Okay, so, and you find this symbol as well in other cultures. For example, the swastika. Now, we're used to the swastika being associated with fascism in Europe, but the swastika has been used for a very long time in the East, in South Asia, for example, and in East Asia. You'll see it, for example, in Buddhist temples, and you'll see it in, I saw it in loads of different places in Myanmar when I was there on holidays, and in India itself. And it kind of represents the universe, right? It's this kind of very old universal kind of symbol. And then it was adopted by Christianity, or at least we now associate it with St. Bridget's Day in the Christian tradition. So Bridget's Day is a festival in honor of St. Bridget, and it is a major festival in Irish tradition. It's now a state holiday since 2023, so since this year it's now a state holiday in Ireland. St. Bridget herself, she's the patron saint of Ireland, so she's on equal status, if you like, to St. Patrick. But a lot of people unfortunately don't know about St. Bridget, but throughout our history, she was, particularly in this part of Ireland, she was more popular and more celebrated, more widely celebrated than St. Patrick.